What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Cloud Slayer channel. Hope you guys are doing well. We're back at it with another Monday ramble. Oh man, sorry. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Wasn't too bad here. It was my first time in our movie theater since they got in the recliners for the theater. I almost said motel for some weird reason, but oh man, had more fun in the chairs than watching the movie. We watched like some older movies. It was like sponsored by the local school district or something like that, which is pretty awesome to get kids out there and maybe going to the movie theater for the first time ever, and maybe getting some parents out there meeting other parents, especially if you're not as social, such as myself. Very awesome, very awesome. Had fun. Um, Man, they had like a nice menu of stuff. So, not used to seeing like a large pizza over at a movie theater and stuff like that. But, progress, I guess. But, anyways, hope everybody's having a great one so far. And today, um, we're going to talk a little bit about. Sorry, I heard some weird noises. Weird stuff always going on. But You know, we're always talking about certain things to help us maybe get better mentally. If you're like myself, where you're kind of afraid to ask for help, you're afraid to reach out to people, or you think people are going to judge you and stuff like that. Um, you know, these are just like this is all my personal stuff that I found that helped me. And some of this stuff is also what others have found that helped them, right? And it's it's not it's never going to be it's going to work for you, because that's entirely up to you whether it works or not. You can have all the help in the world, and you might not succeed, but if you believe in yourself, that's all you need to succeed, right? You got to believe in yourself and be willing to push yourself to do that, to achieve that, whatever that goal may be. Whatever you set your sights on is what you're willing to achieve. What are you going to do to go towards that, right? We talked about multiple things in past Monday rambles here, such as working, paying attention to your work more than anything else, I guess. Um, what is that? Sports. We talk about sports. Talk about fishing. Bunch of other things, right? And hanging out with your family is a big one, and being a little bit more proactive, especially if you have pushed away others in your life up till now. And it doesn't mean that you can't go back, because you can start. Well, you ain't gonna go back necessarily. You're gonna have to work at those things to um, um, what do you call, make those things better. And you know because you can't go back. You can never go back, no matter what you do in life. And you're going to have to live with the consequences of your actions. But that doesn't mean you can't be forgiven. That doesn't mean you can't forgive yourself and others aren't going to forgive you and stuff like that. Usually, if people see that you're making those changes and that you're working at it, and um, being proactive and being a better person, then they'll forgive you too. They're not. There's many people, they like it when people do are able to pull themselves out of those things, right? They're able to find something inside themselves, right? Because nobody can do it for you. Nobody can. Not your neighbor, not your mother, your father, not nobody. Only you. And you got to start trusting the process, right? You got to start believing in yourself, right? We talk about all these other things, but a lot of times the one ingredient that's missing is believing in yourself, believing in your ability to overcome these things. Um, you know, whether you're getting over drugs, alcohol, whatever, or um, you know, finding a better job or something like that, or um, you know, whatever life throws at you. Um, you just gotta try to roll with the punches as best you can, and hopefully something comes back around. You just gotta work as hard as you can, the best you can, I guess, not as hard as always. Sometimes it's how you utilize your time as opposed to how hard you actually work. Because sometimes, it's not always correlated like that. Sometimes you could drive yourself into madness. You work too hard, and you don't get anybody else involved. They'll rely on you a lot to do those things, and sometimes they take it for granted, which is going to happen. You see it happen to a lot of people. They work themselves silly, and they don't get the recognition that they feel that they deserve or something like that. And it makes them angry, it makes them distraught, it makes them very sour. And if you're not people don't always see those things, those hard works that you put forth. But that's a different story for a different day. And don't let that discourage you from believing in yourself, and um, working towards getting better at getting others involved and talking to others. Because if you're not going to talk to others while you're doing these things, then what's going to happen? Nothing much. Sometimes when people aren't you, they don't see what you see. What they don't feel what you feel. It's not sometimes, it's all the time, right? They only know how they feel. They only see what they see, and you know, we're all humans. We all forget very easily. We all have things going on in our lives that make it easy to forget, and not everybody is going to be prioritizing that thing that you're putting a lot of energy into, right? And sometimes that could be draining towards your uh, at home life and things like that. And maybe that's something to factor in too. Like maybe you got to work more on your at home life as opposed to putting forth the energy at work sometimes, right? You gotta have some type of balance in order to go forward. And it you know like I always say, it's easier said than done. And it's easy to talk about as opposed to actually doing and stuff like that. But at least talking about it, um, get your wheels going, right? At least make talk yourself into believing in yourself a little bit more. And maybe going and starting to do the things that you talk about, that you think about. And um, or maybe it makes you stop thinking about it and just start doing those things that need to be done, um, at home, at work, or wherever it needs to be at. It always comes with acknowledge. You have to start acknowledging these things, and you got to start believing in yourself. You don't believe in yourself, you're not going to do it. It's quite simple as that. You don't believe in yourself, you don't think you can do it. You can't do it because you don't believe in yourself and you don't think you can. Um, Sometimes when you don't, it somebody can help you see that you can, but they can only do so much for you before you got to actually see it yourself. And that's the big thing is, um, I have some very successful friends that are, they write down small achievements, or else they don't see some of the things that they do. They don't see the value in what they're doing. And it's very easy to forget. Like I said, we're humans and things like that. But if you write down those things that you did, no matter how small you consider them to be, they're going to be an achievement to you later on, right? They're going to be, oh yeah, you know what? I'm actually doing something. I wrote it down, and I'm quite proud of what I did, right? And start from there or something. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult, because along with that, you have to follow through with it. You got to follow through in paying attention to some of the things that you do, and writing it down and making sure that you don't miss something like that. So um, they always say like hard work pays off and things like that. So you just gotta keep pushing yourself to be better, right? It's not gonna be easy. Never is easy. Never going to be easy. But You know, if anybody can do it, it could be yourself. It could be you. If you ever think about situations where you're like, man, somebody should do something about that. Maybe you could do something about it. Unless if it's your, outside of your job or something. Um, when you're at work, then obviously you can't do it. You can only ask about it. You can only inquire about it or bring it up or something at meetings. And sometimes things get messed too. So, but the big thing is that you're being proactive and you're trying to make things a little bit better for yourself, right? Because sometimes you don't speak up. You feel like your voice isn't being heard, and I think everybody has been in that situation before or been through something similar. And as you grow and as you learn things that, um, sometimes if you don't speak up, then nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on and stuff like that. And, you know, maybe they judge you differently, um, because they don't really get to know you because you're not as talkative, or you're not as open, you're not as, this, that, or another thing. It's it might be the one ingredient that you're missing that you haven't quite figured out yet. You haven't seen that in yourself. You haven't seen any of that stuff yet. So, but you know, where do you start at? Start by writing it down, and maybe you'll get a better grasp of who you are, or how you perceive yourself, or how others perceive you, and things like that. Or you watch other people's interactions with somebody that's a little bit more likable, and how they interact with others, and you can take from that. You can take from that and make it into your own thing, and various things like that. So I learn a lot from meeting new people, watching the actions of others that I know, watching the actions of people that others like, that they depend on, So you always keep your eyes open, always value those situations, and take from those situations. And you can always make them your own. You just got to work at it. You got to work at it to perfect those things and stuff like that. So, but that all starts with believing in yourself, and because you're not going to do it, you're not going to take initiative, you're not going to do these things if you don't think you can, if you don't believe in yourself. So everything that starts with change or anything, or getting better in your life, it's going to start with you, and how you believe that you can do it. So but anyways, this has been another Monday Ramble. Hope you guys have a great one. Until next time, I hope you guys have a great one. Peace.